Hello everybody, welcome to the video of the results of week 5 of the 2018 SpaceChem Tournament. This week's assignment was Philosopher's Cleanup, which is this assignment, in which we turned these two completely unbalanced gold and lead boxes into this nice lead gold balanced wheel. Now this was a straight cycles puzzle, no fancy parts of the metric, just speed. The notable points of this puzzle are the imbalance between the input, which contains 9 plus 9 atoms, and the output, which contains 8. It is possible, if you do the math, to do this process cleanly by inputting 8 total reagents, so 4 and 4, and outputting 9 wheels. Otherwise, it can be done in a wasteful way by inputting 5 and 5 products and then just having the 9th count. The reason I chose 9 as the output number is that first of all, I like correct ratios, but mainly I wanted to encourage using the leftovers, which after inputting 4 and 4 are exactly the 8 atoms needed for the last, to do the last output. And we've had solutions that made the last output this way, and solutions that just left 8 atoms of waste in the reactor and outputted the last one normally. So let's go in. We'll start with Geek's solution, who shows us one of the most popular ways to do this assignment. So let's see. He inputs both inputs, then uses the quantum tunnels that are here and here to break free 2 atoms at a time, and then builds a 2 stick, puts it here where we will see our output molecule growing, and then redoes. Makes a 2 stick, rotates and starts forming the output, again makes another 2 stick, and so on. We get blue rearranging the input molecules to fit the atom we want in these tunnels, and then just red coming in and making another 2 stick. Flip-flops control the output condition. Now the interesting part is here. Normally he has a lead up and a gold down, but in this case the parts are switched, and this is corrected by this sensor, which has red just turn the molecule around, and here we go. This solution is wasteless, but it's really slow. That's because it's not taking any advantage of the input shapes and just destroying completely and rebuilding them. Now we have atom-made solution. He uses this pair of bonders to bond 2 inputs together, and then has blue manage this huge input block, and red manage atoms one by one after they are swapped in by quantum tunnels. So red builds a 4 long stick, then senses it, rotates, and does it again. Here we have it. Flip-flops changes red's path, who bonds it and outputs, and the process repeats. Here red does something pretty simple, and blue has all the complex logic needed to make lead and gold alternate. So it goes down, breaks this one, then breaks this one. This is a nice order. So let's wash it cleanly. It starts by eating out the inner layers, up down, so it alternates. Then it gets this bottom layer of the upper input, upper layer of the bottom input, and then alternates back again. This is pretty nice, but it's still pretty slow because we have all these atoms broken one by one. Shaboka has another similar solution, with blue doing the bonding and red doing the handling of the inputs, but instead of managing a huge double input block, he has red move each half 1 pieces at a time. Here there is the critical point in which blue helps by doing one swap itself, so that the order remains the same and blue doesn't need any special handling for the swapped wire. And this continues. See, we hit inner layers, then we have the different one, and here we go. Red has all these sensor instructions that tell him when it's time to switch molecule. Sensor is here and it is triggered continuously. Macresh has a solution more similar to Geek's one, with the two swappers here, which act, here we'll see this, on the two inputs. So he has basically a double pumped version of Geek's solution, in which both volts come in, bring their input over the swapper, they swap and therefore break all the bonds, and each holds the other input's atom. Then they come in, bond and rotate, and repeat. The products are rotated each time, so that the shells are consumed from outside in, and we see this is done in a different order here and here, but here we have consumed all the outer shell, and then there is some special casing made so that the two atoms are swapped twice, so each Waldo ends up holding the right atom, and everything works, and we have the usual AU PV stick, and we keep going. Again, this solution suffers the same problem of all the previous one, where we have completely broken the input, so it takes a while to rebond and rebuild everything. But this also uses surprisingly few bonders, just 3 right here. Here is Tough solution, and he uses an algorithm very similar to atom mates, so that he bonds the inputs and then consumes them from the internal layer outside. So as we have already seen, internal layer, middle layer of the bottom one, middle layer of the top one, and outer layers. What's pretty different is what red is doing, which is just building a long stick because it's really faster, it's a really compact 6-cycle loop, and then it is breaking apart and rebonding everything. This is slightly faster than atom mates, but still scores over 700. That's because, again, structure is gone right here. RP0 has the first of the structure preserving solutions. So after he inputs, he uses this quantum tunnels couple to swap a side of the upper input with a corner of the bottom input. Then he'll drop them and rebond them. Rotate and bond everything. So this motion has swapped a corner a corner here and a side here, and he repeats this process 4 more times, and this is the end result. Basically formed wheels with an extra central atom. And now the top one, blue brings one here and swaps away the central atom that ended up right here, and blue does the same with the other one, and here we go. 2 atoms of waste and 2 outputs done. We will see strategies like this used, and this is one of the few that does asymmetric swap. The top one does a side swap, and the bottom one does a corner swap. And here we have it. We can see that RP0 is leaving waste in the reactors and outputting its nice product using the normal loop. Here we see it output. Just a little bit of patience. Here we go. We have both completed. A sensor realizes that. blue comes in, swaps, and before any damage can be done, we output this one and the level ends. A nice 790 symbols. This is Twisty's solution, and he has the best one of the non-structured preserving solutions. So we see that he has one tunnel here and one here, and this one will be used by both inputs. So red comes in, swaps in two lead atoms, which blue puts them here. Then blue does the same and swaps in two gold atoms. Red does this rebonding, which is basically 1-1 and then 1-1 instead of the more usual rebonding done by 2x2 pairs, and rotates. Same thing happen again. We consume the external shell, and here we are done. We have done one output, and the same thing happens again. The two atoms of the external shell are consumed. The other Waldo comes in and finishes the job. Now there is some special handling here. That's because flip-flops realized we have finished our inputs, so the remaining two atoms are brought here and the cycle restarts. We'll watch. We have seen this last output grow, and here we are. The final output is finished as sensor realizes that blue drops and outputs. Nice job. Darius one here introduces us to a new strategy, which I call Hibbard Strategy, which uses these two quantum tunnels here to break the bottom input, but then uses bonders to break the top one, and builds this usual pairs of lead gold and bonds them in. Here we can see that blue does mainly input handling, and red is mainly concerned with coming in and bonding the pairs. And some bit of special handling is right here, where we have wrong orientation pair, and red enters this sensor loop, which turns it around the right way, and the cycle carries on. This is significantly faster than the previous solutions. That's because each pair doesn't need to be rebonded singularly or bonded atom by atom. That's because we simply use this block of bonders to do the debonding from the upper input and rebonding simultaneously. And here we go, scores a good 100 cycles faster than the previous block of solutions. Here we have another shared solution with another Hibbard approach. He has the quantum tunnels here to break the bottom bond and the bonders here to break the top bond. Now, a note on this, we see that the tunnels are used to break the bottom input, and that's because the bottom input is double bonded. So it's easier to break this with tunnels that will break all bonds no matter what, and then use bonders to break the top input, which is single bonded. Now let's see his solution, and he does pretty much the same thing the previous solution was doing. That has blue handles pairs of molecules and red just handling the inputs. Here we have a special case with the middle atoms that has the pair just rotated, and here we go. This is significantly faster than the previous one because blue's loop is really tight. It's just basically this rectangle and a little detour when we have a bad pair. And so it turns out this gains roughly 50 cycles on Darius ones. Here we have Biggie Mac's solution, who shows us the first poor side swapper. We see the same setup of 3 bonders and a quantum tunnel both at the top and the bottom, and that's because we are going to do the same exact thing on both inputs. So we input, swap a side, pull in the atom we swapped, drop, grab the top left, rotate, drop, and redo. Now, what's important on this kind of solutions for speed is to time the length of this we are outputting, so we see we have the two central atoms here. We'll watch this better now. And I was talking about the swapping loop, and this loop is 19 cycles long. So let's watch 2 and 3. Let's watch the fourth one carefully. So here we have the central atoms attached only by this bond. We swap it, and then because of the sensor, we, instead of pulling in the atom we swapped, we were bonding the central atom actually, which turns out to be in the correct position. It is bonded, and when the two completed outputs are dropped and outputted, and welders come back and collect the extra atoms. And as you can see, this row is occupied by the extra atom, so this rotation has to be very careful. And now we have 2 occupied rows, and this really cleanly uses only slightly more than these 6 rows to do all the rotation and rebonding. And here we're done. Red picks up the bottom extra atoms. Red comes in and recycles the last atoms to complete in slightly over 400 cycles. Counterpoint has another side swapper with pretty different setups. So, well, these are basically the same, they are just rotated one with respect to another. So let's see. He picks up an input, the 2 inputs. First thing he does is swap away the internal atoms and bond them up into this bonders here that will hold the poor wasp chains. And here we have the swapping loop. As we can see, this loop is extremely efficient, clocking up at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 cycles. But what slows down this solution is the big amount of extra handling needed. This is because the uses of a 9 cycles loop are finished, and now Red has to do all this thing by putting the output away, going to grab a new one, moving this atom away because all the swapping is done by this swapper here, and put this atom away. And all this extra handling takes a pretty big amount of time. But we will see this 9 cycle loop in several other solutions. This clocks at 346. Now we have Handy's solution, who actually starts the top 10. So this is the 10th place. And we see that Handy has again 2 separate swappers and bonders, so that he is going to do a swap setup, and he swaps corners. So this is the first corner swapper, but he, in typical Handy fashion, does actually something weirder than simple corner swapping. So he has swapped 3, and now the sensor is triggered, and notice that this atom is still not swapped, and now Red gets hold of the other input, swaps away a corner, and then does a little bit of rebonding, and here we go. This is our, well, not so pretty wheel, but he does the right atom. So he used the central extra atom as a substitute for the corner atom is swapped away. Then he has blue bonding the extra atom to the molecule, right to the atom that remains to be swapped. And let's see, it comes in, does another big amount of rebonding, and blue lives here, where he used this pair of waste atoms as a stick to bring away the last output. And Red will bring them here to build, we will see, this waste chain. So this solution is wasteful, and we'll build the ninth output using the regular loop. Now Handy sent me the email with this solution and told me that this was the easiest, very fast way he could imagine. I'm pretty sure he is mocking me. We'll now see a lot of players very close in score, starting with Flexo here, who has a setup very similar to BigMax one, with a three column of bonders and the swappers here. And in fact, he has done a very similar side swapper. What helps him is that his loop is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 cycles long. So his solution can be much faster. And also that we see here, he has the same thing as BigMac for the last swap, in which we are actually bonding in the internal atom. And then here we go. The extra atoms are grabbed one at a time here. The tunnels are reused to put all the atoms at the bottom. And here we go. Sadly, this solution produces waste, but this is not a problem because waste is done after the output. So here we will output the ninth and finish up at 325 cycles. This is Pentapic's solution. He is a new player who has just got the game and just started the tournament. And how can all these players who have been playing for 1 or 2 weeks be way better than I was at 1 or 2 weeks of play times? I will never know. So let's start taking a look at this. We see the swapper and 3 bonders set up, so we already know this is going to be a side swapper. So first thing it does, it breaks up the internal atoms and collects them here, and then does the already efficient loop, the 9 cycles loop we have already seen to do side swappings. This does pretty much the same things Counterpoint solution did. He first picks up the internal atoms, then does the efficient 9 cycle loop for swapping, and we see one is dropped and the other one is dropped. The way this solution gains a lot of cycles on Counterpoint is because it recycles. Kids, remember to recycle, that it saves you cycles. So here we see we have outputted the extra output as 7, and here we go, 320 cycles. Cactus' turn, and he has another solution class interiorly. As we see, he has the swappers here, and let's see what he does. He uses swappers just at the beginning to break off the internal atom and stores the extra atoms here, and then he has 3 bonders here, 3 bonders here, and he'll proceed to, here we go, swap corners via bonders. Here we see this is pretty efficient as well, because it takes, we will see it better later. This is the last one. Flip-flops know when it's time to stop and bring over an output. And as we can see, we are beginning to form here the shape of another output. So let's look here. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. A pretty efficient 9 cycles loop. Here we go. This is the last pair of inputs. The sensor used just here to know when we are done, so that we can output. And then things are so that walls wait for each other, and we are done. Just 3 cycles better than the previous one. Now Reasons has this kind of thing at 127 symbols that is the heaviest solutions I received, and we see some very fancy sensor use. So let's see. He does a fairly standard corner swap routine. We see the two tunnels here and the bonders here to rebond corner. So he does it until here. Now the sensors are triggered, and we have the last corners that are sitting here, and we have still the internal atoms to handle. Now red has bonded the last corner here, while blue has instead taken the corner and went to put it as part of the extra atoms. Red comes in, swaps away the internal atom, and we have this normal wheel shape. And instead here we'll do roughly the same thing Andy did and do some pretty big amount of rebonding to get this ugly wheel. And we bond again and again, and we're done. Some magic sensor usage happens here to do the normal path that happens when gold is triggered, and to do the different path which happens at lead. And here we see we have 4 atoms here that have been brought down, another 2, and the last 2. And now let's see what it does with the extra atoms. While blue is busy with the last output, red comes in, brings them down, bonds them. This behavior was triggered by these flip-flops, bonds up everything, and outputs the last one at 310 cycles. So right now for the 5th place, we see the tunnels here, these 2 bonders for the extra atoms, and this 3x3 here, and so we already know this is going to be an unbonding corner swapper. So let's see. First thing it's done is swapping away the internal atoms. Then we will do the corner swapping. We have this slightly longer loop at 11, but even if the loop is slightly longer, this is extremely efficient because the delivery is really fast. Here, from completion to delivery of the second output, it was just like 4 cycles. And blue finishes putting up the extra atoms, and we'll see it again. I really like aesthetically this loop here, tuck, and bonding. We are at 6, and now we'll see what it does with the extra atoms. Like all the top solutions, he recycles. So brings up the 8 stick, breaks it, rebonds it, bonds it again, and outputs. This is a lot faster than the previous one and gets to 287 cycles. This is the 4th place by Zig, and as we can see he has another corner swapper setup with the 3 and 3 bonders here, but he has the swappers that swaps directly on the output zone. So let's see. First thing he does is swap out the internal atom of the top input and put it in place. Then he will do this. Again, he has an 11 cycle corner swapper, and 3 and 4. Now the sensor is triggered. Red comes in to drop the first one. Blue brings the bottom input here so that the atom can be swapped away, and this really efficient handling of each one with the other Waldo makes this a pretty fast solution. But the reason I think this is faster than the previous one is that instead of bonding an 8 long chain and having to rebond it, it is done 4x4. This uses a pretty big amount of space so that there is this small corridor here to handle the inputs. We are at 3, this is our last set, and we are done. Now that blue is outputting the last one, red is free to come in, efficiently bond everything, and drop the last. Just 4 cycles better. We are entering the top 3 here, and solution get way faster. This is Brookie Out's solution, who is another pretty heavy one. And as we can see for the 3 bonders and swapper here, and 3 bonders and swapper, this is going to be another side swapper solution. As we see the 9 long side swap loop, and we have already seen how the side swapping solution work. We have the usual reuse of the internal atom as last link in the chain, but the efficient part of this solution is that this output is already ready, so blue is on his way to do more stuff, and in particular he starts building the output chain, and we'll see here blue is already here handling the extra atoms, while red outputs the last one, comes in, and the cycle restarts. Let's see, this is another top solution, so it's obviously going to recycle the extra atoms. Here we have it. Red senses that it's time to recycle by grabbing here, rotates, breaks up this huge chain here, bonds it, and in a peculiar way he does the proper wheel shape with the rest of the atoms, while most players have done 4x2 boxes, and brings it here and reuses part of the standard handling loop by blue here to do the last output. Drops, and we're done at 244 cycles. I honestly didn't think it was possible to go this fast. GG Goal here in second place, who has this strange bonder arrangement. We have one tunnel here, but with the spec different arrangements from a corner swapper. But it turns out he has a corner swapper as well, but he does it asymmetrically. So let's just watch this run for the first iteration, and I'll explain it a bit later. So now that we have seen some nonsense, we are ready to understand it. First thing it's done, here we have a swapper, so one corner is cut away. Then blue will break off one corner from the LED input, and red will bond it to the other input. Well, then a corner is broke off from red, blue bonds it, and here we go. This carries on for a while until we get here. This is the last corner needed, but we see that the sensor was triggered. That's because this output here is actually completed, because we're using the internal atom as extra corner, as we have seen several other solutions do. Then blue starts bonding up the extra atoms, red comes in and finishes off the other molecule by bonding in the last corner, and then breaking off the last bad corner, and using again the central atom as part of the output. This honestly looks pretty complicated, but aside from doing the unbonding in two parts so that one molecule is, we'll see it better here, he has simply collapsed together the two 3x3 bonder shapes we have seen in other corner swapping solution, and he needs that because he needs this bonder pair right here to bond some stuff right. Not much here, but it'll be needed here. Here we go, when we need space to do two extra bonding, and we can do it here because everything is happening here where is a lot of spaghetti. So now we are ready to see what it does with the remaining output, with the remaining atoms. He picks up the chain, breaks it in the middle, rotates, builds a box, and red stalls, blue drops and outputs. But the player has done an even better job than GG Goal, and it is Zlat's. I mean, congratulations for this great solution and for the greatest comeback ever, coming back from last week in which you got last place to this week in which it's first. So let's see, we see the setup. This is going to be a corner swap solution, but the thing that makes it really fast is that it has this 9 cycles long loop, and he has everything done in a really compact space. As we see, the extra atom chain is just here, just right next to the unbonding zone. So the blue Waldo here has to do very little space to pick up and bond the extra atoms. This is repeated, and he has again the nice semicircular corner swap. I really like this one. Now half of the extra atoms have been seen and put here. We see again. Here we go, ready for the final output. 3, 4. This is brought here, rotated. Both folders participate, and it is output. Again, congratulations to Zlats. This beats GG Gold by over 15 cycles. Really a great solution. Let's finish this video with a brief look at the standings. We have done 5 rounds till now, so we are exactly at half of the tournament. Now, GG Gold is absolutely dominating for now. In last week, those 3 right here were pretty much all at the same score, but GG Gold pulled way ahead in this assignment to get an uncontested first place. Reasons and Handy are trying to catch up at around 3 points of distance, and then we have this reasonably big group of followers, starting with Zeke, then Cactus, and all the way down to roughly here Counterpoint, who is trying to catch up to the top. And then follows all the other player with Biggie Mac, and now on until roughly the 24th place. After that, we have mostly players who have stopped at standing solution. So I hope you like this video, and we'll see you guys for next week for next round.